But we're going to start this morning with politics and a little bit of a bonus to our first up interview. The person we're about to talk to made an announcement yesterday that he would no longer be seeking election as the member or the electorate MP for Ireland, a battle he didn't win last election, but he was number 2 on the National Party list, so it didn't matter anyway. Gerry Brownlee isn't quitting politics, he'll just stay on the list. And he joins us now from his office in Parliament. Gerry, good morning to you. Thanks for coming on the platform.
Good morning, Sean.
All right, what was the decision? You're just going to be one of those list cannon fodder MPs from now on?
That's right. But I think your interpretation's a little rough. But essentially, I'm going to, if I am lucky enough to be re-elected, I would be a list MP.
All right. I guess you can look and say the tide's going out for Labor, coming in for National. You're safe on the list and you get another National person a crack at being an electorate MP.
Well, that's an analysis you could make, but I think we're not that complacent about things. There's still a long way to go. It's 15 months at least before we have an election, and certainly a good, you'd say 12 months probably before a campaign proper might start.
Well, Gerry, we got you in to have a chat today because you are the Defence and Foreign Affairs spokesperson for National. And man, no election was ever, I think, won or lost on foreign policy, but it is important, and it's important to a trading nation like New Zealand. And we are right now in a part of the world geopolitically where an awful lot is going on. The Prime Minister, and I see reports this morning calling for diplomacy in the region. I think we've seen in the last few days a softening of what some were concerned was an increasingly pro-American position in this part of the world. Would you agree that we are at a time in our history where our foreign relations, our foreign affairs, if you will, are quite important?
Yes, we are, because we have in China a major trading partner by a long shot. And then, of course, we have our traditional sort of friends out there. And since the Second World War, we've been alongside the United States, United Kingdom, and particularly our one ally, Australia, in almost every sort of degree of conflict around the world, incidents of conflict around the world. And we have similar sort of views and values. But in the end, we have a lifestyle here that is far in advance of anything a domestic economy alone could give us. So we have to trade, and our greatest volume of trade, where the best prices for the goods produced in this country, is with our trading partner in China. And of course, you've got this tension between China and the US over the Pacific, a little bit around Taiwan, and probably, well, most definitely probably not helped by the most recent visit. In fact, it's occurring right now of
Nancy Pelosi,
the House Speaker. Yeah, I mean, look, we're not in a position to tell anybody where they should go and what they should do. That's not our view. All I'm saying is that you can see the tension that is causing in the statements that are being made from both the US and the Chinese side. And I think in the end, if you're going to have some kind of diplomatic solution to the tensions that are out there at the moment and the competition for influence across the Pacific, then you have to have a basis of respect at the start. And I think that's what needs to be a bit worked on at the moment.
Because the Chinese have given us a kind of a little bit of a tickle up, haven't they? A few speeches which have said, whoa, New Zealand, don't forget us and don't be too keen to sort of paint us as the bad boys here.
Well, the message that was given on Monday by the Chinese ambassador to the New Zealand-China Business Summit was along the lines of, we make a choice about who we trade with. We're choosing you. Please show us some respect for the way in which our country has developed over a relatively short time, lifted so many people out of abject poverty, and still has a big task ahead of it. To lift the 600 or so million Chinese who live on round about $150 US a month. So they've got a big task ahead of them. And I think all they're saying is do that our way. Many of the things that they do, as far as human rights are concerned, are general rights. The fact that they're not a democracy, they don't fit totally with our values. But we do have to work out how we position ourselves to be respectful, to still make the points that we want to make, and the ambassador said that, and each side will do that. But we do need to look at what we have in common as opposed to what separates us.
Gerry, do you think Jacinda Ardern, and maybe this has been a case of developing the policy or the messaging, do you think we've got it about right in the Pacific now?
Look, I think so. I mean, we're a small player. Let me just backtrack a bit. We're a fairly significant player as far as the cultural relationships between many Pacific Island nations and New Zealand is concerned. And on a dollar basis, we're not quite so big. Australia put in just over $1 billion a year in various projects into the Pacific. New Zealand puts in something around about 400 million, so it's kind of proportionate. But then there are others who contribute as well. The whole issue on the table at the moment is the pretty significant range of offers that China have made to Pacific nations, encouraging them to develop a closer relationship with China. And that's kind of not necessarily a problem, it's a challenge, not only for New Zealand and Australia and the United States, but for the Pacific Island countries themselves. And you'd have to say, if they are looking at some of the very generous offers, it's very hard for those Pacific nations to say, no, we're out of here, we're not going to engage. And remember too, that China's actually not new to the Pacific. They've been engaged in various projects to assist Pacific nations for more than 20 years.
We go half a world away to the other side of the globe and the issues which are having global impacts, and that is the war in the Ukraine. Some have been surprised there too at, if you like, the hawkish attitude or posture that New Zealand has taken. The Prime Minister going to a meeting of NATO. We have military personnel training Ukrainian troops in artillery drills in the UK. Do you think we have also got our positioning right in that conflict?
Yes, I do. I think it's interesting if you look at both the US and China statements. They both call for respect for the international rules of law, the way in which countries engage with one another. Mr. Putin, with his invasion of Ukraine, has completely disregarded the sort of international norms that have been developed post the Second World War. And I think you have to stand up to that as strongly as you can. Clearly, he thought that the Ukraine was going to be a walk in the park. It's far from it. And of course, there are a number of other former USSR states that he would like to encompass under the influence of Moscow. So it is essential that we continue to give assistance to the Ukraine in their fight.
And broadly then, you are also in accord or not against this Labor administration's policy in that part of the world?
Well, there'd always be minor differences, but the principal difference is not great. Both parties are very much in favour of freedom of individuals. Some would say that Labor are a little more restricting than National, perhaps. But let's be clear, we are a very old democracy in New Zealand, measured internationally, even though we're a post-treaty, quite young country. So we would not be in a position where we'd be saying, let's back off. Let Mr. Plunket have a bit of a free run.
Gerry Brownlee, I want to come then to your other portfolio, defence. Because in the context of this changing world, and I think less stable world or less certain world than, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago, some critics, particularly commentators in Australia, have looked at New Zealand in terms of our defence spending and our defence capability. And there's been the suggestion we're fundamentally freeloaders. We have downgraded our defence capabilities. We are not doing anywhere near our bit to say that defence force-wise we're pulling our weight?
Sean, I just need to make it clear that Tim Vandermolen, MP
right.
for the Waikato, is defence spokesman. I'm a former defence minister, but I'm happy to make comments on that if you like. Firstly, those accusations are made. They're out there, and they've been there for quite some time. So we had 2 defence white papers when we were in government. The second one was brought down while I was minister, and it had with it a defence procurement plan, and it had essentially right out till about 2030 a program for capital expenditure to get the sort of kit that makes New Zealand's military capability more interoperable with others. Ron Mark came along as the minister under the Labour New Zealand First government, and he did, I think, quite a good job defending that position. He rewrote the procurement plan, which, of course, what you sort of do if you're trying to convince colleagues who are not very in favour. It was essentially unchanged from the 2016 model. But what we've seen in the last couple of years is a backing off of that quite considerably. And while we've got some nice new kit coming, it is very, very small compared to our partners. It is proportionate, and I think that's the important thing. It's also, I think, useful to note that certainly from a national perspective, we would want to have military equipment that is, what would you say, compatible and useful in any exercise or action that we might engage with partners, because we will never be involved in a conflict on our own, would be my strong view. So we have the ship Aotearoa, which was just commissioned earlier this year, late last year, I should say. That was procured under our time in government. It was built during and then commissioned once it was built just recently. A very good piece of equipment, and that'll serve us well for years. We've got the 130Js that are coming, the replacement for the Hercules, and of course the Poseidon aircraft coming in for the Orion P4s. We make our kit in New Zealand last a long time. Those Hercules that will go out of commission in the next 2 years will be about 67 years old by the time they finally get their resting spot. Similarly, we've got the frigate decision to make coming up in the next few years. I can remember when the frigate purchase was a big political issue. You'd remember that probably yourself, Sean. And now they're 30, 35 years old coming up. And so we've got to make decisions about that. But in this type of world, it's not a time, in my opinion, to start reducing your capacity to work with others in a military sense. That will always be our position. We have a military that can work with others in defence of the values that we live by.
Would a future national government look at increasing defence spending?
Well, that's something for us to consider as a policy and announce going forward. What I can say is that defence spending at the moment is starting to fall as a relative to GDP, and I think that's a concern. So you need to arrest that for a start. You've also got pretty high attrition rates inside the military at the moment. Something needs to be done about that. And if you were to say, right, we're going to massively increase spending, so maybe by another half or quarter, it would take some years to be able to get to a point where your capacity was such that it would use up that baseline spending. So there's a number of things to consider as we get to a policy position.
What I'm hearing this morning, though, from you, Gerry, is that despite what seems to be a rapidly changing and in some ways less stable world, there appears to be some consensus across Parliament on the way we are positioning ourselves in the world. It doesn't sound like there's anything you say is outrageously wrong with this Labor government's foreign policy and defence policy at present.
Look, I could be very critical of the fact that we haven't made enough effort to be face to face with our friends around the world. You could say that we've been sort of moderately interested in the trading arrangements that we had. You can go on to all these things. You can be quite a nitpicker about it. But if you look at it from the big picture, I don't think from a New Zealand Inc. point of view, it's particularly helpful having massive divergence in how you deal with the rest of the world and how you view the rest of the world and how you position New Zealand for the rest of the world. Remember, we're a trading nation. You cannot get away from that we have to have good relations across the world to sell the products we make, because I say again, our lifestyle here is so much better than any lifestyle a domestic economy alone, where we're just trading with one another, might be able to give us.
And finally, Gerry, I want to ask you, will you miss, and I know you haven't been this term, but are you going to miss getting out and campaigning for an electorate next year?
Well, I'll still be helping whoever is chosen to be the national candidate in Ireland. I've lived in Ireland all my life, pretty much. It's a part of the city that obviously I have a deep connection to. And so I'll still be around there, still be living there. And it'll give me an opportunity also to be a little freer to help out other people around the place as well.
Gerry, I thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. I think some people will be surprised by the collegial nature of your comments this morning, but often people don't understand politics isn't all about banging heads together. I thank you for your time. That is National's Foreign Affairs spokesperson Gerry Brownlee, List MP, number 2 on the list last election, of course, and announced yesterday he's not going to contest the Ireland electorate he used to have at the next election. He will be a list-only candidate for the National Party.